I will never forget my first year of university going to study psychology. And it was the first course, Foundations of Psychology, the first lecture. And the professor started giving the definition of psychology, defining it from the Greek etymology of the word and stating clearly that psychology is the science of the soul. I was mesmerized. I mean, I went very eagerly to go and study psychology, knowing that I'm going to study about behaviors and understand myself and others better, studying, learning about emotions and thoughts. But I didn't expect to be told that actually I'm going to study about the soul. So I kept studying all the courses, everything, reading everything and practicing over the years, everything that came my way in terms of psychology, psychotherapy, psychiatry, psychodiagnosis. I was very passionate about my work. But over the years, with many trainings, many courses that I took, the word soul never seemed to come back into the discussion. I did study about emotions and thoughts and behaviors and symptoms and diagnosis, but the soul didn't seem to come back. So it seemed that psychology somehow got so preoccupied with proving that it is a science and belonging to the world of sciences that somehow it forgot about its own object of study, the soul. So a few years ago, many years ago, actually, I reached a point in my career where I felt stuck. There is this cute story about a soldier who was in the army, and at one point, he started presenting with this strange behavior. He would pick up pieces of paper from everywhere, he would read them, and then throw them away and say, "This is not it." And he would pick up another one, read it, "This is not it." And another one, and everywhere he would go, he would find pieces of paper, he would pick them up, read, "This is not it," and throw them away. So his superior noticed his odd behavior and he decided to send him to the uh, psychologist in charge for an evaluation to see if he is still apt to be in the army, to act as a soldier in good standing. So sure enough, the psychologist did a thorough evaluation, applying all the diagnostic tests, and found out that actually the soldier didn't seem to be in the full mental and emotional capacities. So he decided that the soldier needs to be discharged from the army. So he wrote a letter recommending the discharge. He gave it to the soldier superior. And after the decision was made, the superior gave the soldier the letter. So the soldier took the letter and say, "Oh, this is it." It's a funny story. I found it very funny. But this is my story as well with my path as a therapist practicing psychology, psychotherapy. So I reached many years ago, I reached this point where just like the soldier from our story, after experiencing and using with passion many approaches, many therapeutic approaches, and some of them were extremely efficient, like EMDR. But somehow I was having the feeling that this is not it, that something significant is missing from the equation. I didn't really know what, but I started being very preoccupied and asking questions like, asking the universe, like, okay, something is missing, something is not it in this equation. And my work as a therapist, even with the best therapeutic approaches, it didn't seem that it goes full way, and it's not quite it. So, as always, when we ask, we receive, we have the answers, and through the power of synchronicities, I came across the works of the American psychiatrist David R. Hawkins. And the moment I learned about his works, I couldn't stop until I explored and researched and learned everything that I had to learn from his amazing work. So he was a pioneer that made the connection, made the bridge between psychology, psychiatry, psychotherapy, and spirituality, the levels of consciousness. So after being very well-known psychiatrist in New York with a very busy big practice, he decided to dedicate the rest of his life to the study of consciousness and to the practice of accessing higher levels of consciousness. So he developed this map of consciousness where, let's see if this is what I'm going to talk about now, and I'm going to show this map as well. So we have a picture of it too. So he created this map of consciousness that define different levels of consciousness on a scale from 0 to 1000 based on the amount of life energy or divine energy that each level contains. So the frequency, the energy intensity, the energy frequency that each level contained. Starting with the lowest levels that are very close to actually the physical death, the levels of shame and guilt, and going up to the level of 1000. Now, this is a logarithmic scale. So each level is, each number is the power of 10. So they don't really represent the actual presented number, 0 to 1000, but it's a logarithmic scale. So starting with shame, level 20, guilt, level 30, apathy, 50, grief, 75, fear, 100, desire, 125, anger, 150, pride. These are the levels. The scale is has three main levels. Is the lower level below the level of 200, where is the level of courage, and then the middle part of the scale with courage at level 200, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, and reason, and then the top part of the pyramid, starting with the level 500 at the power of 10, once again, with love. Love, and at the level 540, there is unconditional love, divine love, pure, uncontaminated love, and at the same time, the level of joy. Also at 540, the level of gratitude and the level of humor. And then the level of peace at 600, and starting with the level of 700, the levels of enlightenment. Now, this scale is, as Hawkins defined it, is on the human realm. And as he said it, it's based on how much our energy, actually, the highest frequency that our nervous system, human nervous system, is able to contain at this point in our evolution. So, again, I was fascinated when I learned about his work. Finally, although the word soul wasn't directly always presented, but consciousness was the scientific synonym for what I was looking for in the soul part of the definition of psychology. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this scale. I will present it overall as the big picture for now, and then I will describe each level one by one with its characteristics. So this scale, again, each level is defined based on the frequency that it contains. So the lowest one, below 200, there are very low frequencies. There is very little life energy, and at the same time, there is this distinction that Hawkins made it. The levels below 200 versus the levels above 200. Below is the power versus force. Power, meaning that we have the inner strength aligned with the source of our power, and it's unlimited. The higher we go on the state of consciousness, the more access we have to higher and higher vibrations or frequencies or energy, life energy. And the lower we go below the level of 200, the less lower frequencies. So above 200, we are connected with power. Below 200, we need to use force because our energy is decreasing. Actually, the lower we go, the more we lose versus receive life energy. And then it's like having these little batteries that we try to refill, to recharge from everything and everyone around us, sometimes trying to suck the energy from the outside and feeling that the source of our well-being, our health, our happiness, of everything that we need in life, it's outside. So we need to get it. Below 200, we are focused on getting, on having, on how much in this relationship with life, how can I survive, first of all, and then how can I get more, how can I dominate more. The level of pride, it's about domination and the reign of the so-called ego that is in charge. Ego is this construct that we have created in co-creation with the world once it came into this world, and its function was to ensure our survival, our getting, our domination, power, survival, control. This ego doesn't really exist in reality. If we want, it's like we are what we are, as we are created to be, as we came into this world to be. We are like a tree from our own seed or a flower, but the ego is our construct. It's this artificial, man-made flower or tree, plastic tree, that we work so hard to make it perfect, to look like the natural, real tree or flower, and then we put it on top of us, and we work it, continue to work it, improve it, and change it, and adapt it all the time. We work so much at it in co-creation with the world to fit in the world. And we try our best. We work so hard at making ourselves into this artificial tree or flower. Again, to belong into the world, to feel that we are accepted here, that we are valued, that we are loved, that we receive from the world everything that we feel we need and desire. So in this process, the more masks we put, the more we construct these images of us in the likeness of the world, the more we forget about ourselves, we forget about who we are, and we get lost in the world. And this is the level of shame, where shame, it's all about um, who I am, what I am. It's wrong. It's not what it's supposed to be. It's not acceptable by others, by the world. It's ugly. It's despicable. It's what I am. I shouldn't be. And then I hide and I suffer, and I judge myself, I judge the world as well, and I close myself down to the point of this shame is the level of deep depression, sometimes even connected to suicide. And also the guilt, difference between guilt and shame, it's about what I am or what I believe I am, what I learned that I am. It's not what I am in truth, as I was saying earlier. And guilt is what I did, what I do, that it's wrong. It's not what it's supposed to be. It's not what it should be. So guilt, it's about doing action. Shame, it's about what I believe that I am, that it's not all right. So below 200, we need to put forces to make it, to go to the top and to be on top of the world and everyone else. So there is lots of effort, but every force physically activates counter forces, and then we engage in this struggle and this specific work where we have the boulder and we keep pulling it up, raising it. At the end of the day, it goes back to the ground, and we need more and more effort, and we struggle and we fight and we suffer. This is the land of suffering and illness, and it's the experience of having hell on earth. So the primary one, it's fear. At the base of all of this, fear in all shapes of colors, as opposed to love. That is the field, is a domain of when we are completely connected to the source of our being and to the higher states of consciousness. Also, below 200 versus above 200. Above 200 is the level of truth. We have vision. We see things as they are, versus below 200 is the domain of perception. We don't see things as they are, but we perceive them, and we perceive them blindly, because based on the state of consciousness that we are, our lenses are colored, and the lower the states, the darker the lenses, and we don't see what it is as it is. We perceive them, and then we make stories in our mind, we create scenarios, we create movies, and we get lost in that dark maze that doesn't seem to have an exit, but it goes lower and lower, and it's a very heavy state, and the more we sink into it, the heavier it goes, and it pulls us. The direction is towards death as opposed to life for the levels above 200. So it's very important to be aware that when we are in the states, any of the states below 200, guilt, shame, apathy, fear, attachment, desire, anger. We say that when we are angry, we make the best speech we will ever regret. Or pride, where I feel that I am the center of the universe. I'm right. My way or the highway. My opinion is the most important. I need glamour. I need to be perceived as the top, the best one. I need to be praised. I need to be valued. But at the core, actually, there is that inner sense of insecurity and not truly knowing my value in truth, just what I perceive that my value is based on the interaction with the outside world. So being aware that when I am in the states below 200, I don't see, I perceive blindly. I perceive like perceiving in a dream. Or there is that beautiful story with a blind man, 20 blind men around an elephant, and each of them were touching a part of the elephant, and they were very strongly opinionated and trying to convince fiercely the others that what they perceive it's what the elephant is. And one was touching the tip of the tail or the toe or the nose or different parts of the elephant's body. And because they touched them, they sensed them, they were convinced that this is the elephant. And they were fighting with one another who is right and who holds the truth. And the truth was that even if they would have come together and put everyone's perception together as a whole, was first of all much better than everyone um, pulling the piece that they were perceiving out of the context and making it the whole. But if they would have come and put all the perspectives together, all the pieces together, and still the elephant was not just the sum of what each of them was perceiving, but was so much more. So the truth is, it's beyond. It's so much more than what we can perceive partially from different angles. And this is a distinction that Hawkins makes as well between the levels, the states of above 200 with a level of courage and up, and below 200, where the distinction between content and context. So when we are below 200, we see, we narrow down, we zoom in, and we see the content, the little content, and we make it the whole. Versus the higher we go, we open up, and it's no longer about the content, it's about the context and ultimately the truth and aligning with the truth. Also, above 200 versus below 200 is the level of integrity versus non-integrity. Integrity means to align our thoughts, our emotions, our actions with vertically with honesty, starting with complete radical sincerity, honesty with ourselves, and then extending that towards others and in everything we do, in business, in our practice, in what we say, being being truthful through our words, through our actions, through our choices, um, uh, and through our thoughts. So when we are not in integrity below 200 on any of those states, we are misaligned, and that's where forces are coming to place. We go against the laws of nature, the common sense laws sometimes. So that's where suffering comes, that struggle, that's where we have to put more and stronger forces to make it through. But the more we go against the laws of nature, the stronger we need to resist that. And that's where below 200 is the field of resistances, of forces, of breaks. Everything it's breaks coming from my will, coming from fear at the core. So above 200, the higher we go, we move from resistances, from forces, we move into alignment, we align with our strength as well, with our own spinal cord, the physical one, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually as well. And then we lighten up instead of force and effort. Things become lighter, and then even in our actions, we step into the flow as defined by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi in psychology. So the state of flow where we align with what we do, we align with what is in front of us, and there is this oneness where we are one with our actions, completely immersed, flowing through them. And the experience is extremely uplifting, leading to peak performance experiences. And this is encountered in our daily life. We can do our regular chores and be in the state of flow, or it's very much experienced by musicians and athletes and high performance people that in writing and singing that engage with this state, because it's not related to the activity that we perform. It's about the state that we are in. So this is also when we move from below 200, above 200, we move also from suffering, from illness, including physical illness. We move into well-being, healing, and happiness. And actually, the states of happiness that we are sometimes searching for a whole lifetime, the degree of happiness, it's increasing the higher we go on the state of consciousness. So below 200 are now this is not a dualistic scale. It's not about good or bad, right or wrong. But at the same time, just like we have electricity with positive ions and negative ions, the states below 200, they are connected with negative feelings, negative thoughts, and they are destructive and also life depleting. We exhaust ourselves, we lose so much energy when we engage with those states, and when we engage with others from those states of consciousness, from the state of fear or anger. We're controlling and dominating, we're imposing our opinions and our ways. So above the level 200, we start again with a level of courage, and then moving into neutrality and willingness and acceptance and reasoning and wisdom. The states are becoming lighter and lighter, and they are energy giving. We recharge our batteries, and the higher the frequency, the higher the state of consciousness, the more power it has to really fill us with life energy, that it's constructive, and also it's repairing as well, including physical illnesses. So yes, these are again the three domains: below 200, between 200 and 500. With 500, there is another gate. That's where true spirituality starts. And from that level, with a level of unconditional love, love where it's very different than the human love that we learned in the world, where it's all about possessiveness and expectations and pressures and ropes and attachments and insecurities and all of these ropes and chains that we pull with one another in the name of love, but we use that name as a currency to get what we want, to make others into being, forcing them into being what we want them to be. We need them to be, forcing them in our roles that we prescribe to them and the images that we create of them, taking away their right to actually be what they are. as they were created to be, as they have the full rights to be, and also giving ourselves back the full right to be what we are, and to experience life as we choose for ourselves, but not for others. So at the level of 500, love is decluttered, is freed of all of these attachments and ropes and chains and marketplace and currencies. It's pure of any agenda, any expectation. It is, and it's a state, it's not just an emotion or a feeling, it's a state of being. I am love. And if I am love, I don't, it's like being the sun. You don't need to get more sun. You don't fear losing what you are. You keep being what you are. And that's what you spread around. And so that's where true spirituality begins. And it begins with us remembering and getting back to the state of being, to being what we are in truth versus what we learn that we are, and that imaging of ourselves in co-creation with the world, mirroring the world, and the world mirroring itself. So it's no longer the reign of the so-called ego, that is this artificially constructed entity, but it's not an entity because it's nothing. In reality, it doesn't exist. It's just a construct that we believe in it, we start believing in it. But we are free, we are free of the identification with this construct, with our thoughts, with our feelings, even with our body, because we are not any of this, including the body. What we are is what occupies this body, this space, but I'm not it. So the higher we go, the more we are what we are, and we experience life, we experience everything that it is from the place of pure, again, the keyword, unconditional, no conditions, no agendas, pure love, pure joy, pure gratitude. And as I was saying, at the level of 540, it's also the level of humor that has tremendous power to break, suddenly break like a glass, any conflict, any seriousness where we get too tight in our positioning. But it breaks that, and it's one of the most fascinating ways for me of transcending each level of consciousness. So I will start. I will start talking about each level individually to give it a bit of attention and to see how each level is defined. But this is the overall big picture of this map of consciousness that is tremendously helpful for our personal journeys. Einstein used to say that we cannot resolve a problem with the same level of thinking that we had when we created the problem. And this definitely applies to the consciousness states as well. We cannot resolve a problem with the same level of consciousness, the same state of consciousness that we had when we created and got trapped in that problem. So we need to go higher, and there are ways to go higher. And having this map, it's very helpful, especially when we feel lost, when we feel that I don't know where I am, I don't know why I feel this the way I feel, or I think, or I'm trapped in my life, I'm stuck. And it's very helpful to look at the map and eventually assign to say, you are here. And wherever I am is just the right place to be, and it's only from that place that I can move forward or in a different direction. I can get unstuck. No matter where I'm supposed to be, where I should be, where others are, or where I used to be, it's completely irrelevant. It only feeds that fight with ourselves and life itself. And as Katie Byron used to say, every time I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the times. So reality being what is as is. I am where I am with myself, with my life. And it's good to know where I am. And then to see the options, to see this whole map where I don't have, if where I am right now in my life, it's not really the place where it's beneficial for me. It's not a place where I want to be. It doesn't feel right. It feels that it's misaligned, and with all my best efforts and struggles, I keep being stuck and lost. Then there are other possibilities, and this map shows us all of those possibilities. And again, this is not a right or wrong dualistic picture or map. Wherever each of these states are absolutely all right in themselves, but at the same time, um, we have the possibility of choosing, of using this amazing gift that was given to us with life, the gift of free will, of choosing, of making our choices. And this is the great step when we use this power, when we assume this power of choosing at every moment. We move from the levels below 200 that are the reign of victimhood, of feeling that I'm wrong, that I'm a victim of life, of circumstances, of God, of others. And then with the level of courage, 200, I take the responsibility. Responsibility meaning my ability to respond, responsibility, my power. I take my power that it's given to me. It's part of me. I use the power to choose, and I step out of being a victim and perceiving myself as a victim, helpless, and under the reign of fear. And I choose, and I choose again and again and again with every step to be where I want to be. And speaking of being again, these three zones of the map, below 200, between 200 and 500, and above 500. Below 200 is are the levels of having, getting, and it's never enough. Between 200 and 500 is the level of doing. I identify myself with my usefulness, with what I do, how I contribute with my work, whatever that work is. And above 500, and the highest levels are the domains of being. So having, doing, and then being, where I become aware that the greatest value that I can bring to my life, to those around me, to the world, is by being what I am in truth. So I will stop here for now, but then we will resume, and I will talk about each of these states of consciousness individually.